Okay. Hi, Wobblefoot. Is it Wobblefoot? Wobbles? It is Wobble. I can see him in the mirror. I'm turning the nail back down so I can have a dab. While I wait for people to hopefully show up. That would be nice. I'd like to clean this place up today. I feel like I will have the energy. Hello. I'm probably gonna take a shower right after this. Hey internet, it's Sarah. As usual, I'm gonna have a dab. I did just eat and I did have some edible, but it was not that much. And I didn't feel like trying to guesstimate the difference and eat more that way, so I'm just gonna dab instead. My tummy feels a little queasy. But, I mean, the AMA is on, so if you have a question, you're invited to ask it. I keep looking this way because the camera has been over here, but I moved it to over here. But the only, I mean, there's obvious guidelines like try to not spam, please. I don't think that's going to be a problem. There are 2 people watching right now. But the other thing is that because I'm doing this on my phone and not on a computer, the length of comment that I can see before it just ellipses out the rest is fairly short. So I will ask you to keep your questions brief, because if you don't, I won't be able to actually see the whole thing. And that's kind of the only requirement, other than obvious things like turn your phone off. You know, don't turn your phone off. That's a movie thing. This is Northern Lights by Ionic that I'm about to dab right now, by the way. That tastes curiously like my mouthwash. You know, maybe I was gonna move over here and kind of sit on the floor, but yeah, I'll still do that. I'm gonna set this on something. Oh, you know what? Here, I'll do this. I'll just use the tripod, the big tripod. And bring you down here. I'll just leave that running. Yeah, that's the other reason I want the dryer. I'm sorry, I put my hand right over the. I'm used to the camera being on this side. I'm very practiced at not blocking the camera by grabbing it on this side instead of on this side. Shit. Sorry. Drier vaping because it's slower, too. It takes longer. It's more like smoking. I like it better. I keep looking over here. Maybe if I... But yeah, I'm a little dabbed out right this second. By the way, every one of my live videos is implicitly an AMA. People just don't ask me that much usually. So I just kind of babble for a while. But this is more explicitly an AMA. It's more explicitly... oh good, yay, hello. Camilla's my my moderator, staff help. In case this somehow blows up and gets, you know, flooded by trolls of some sort. Because she has a computer. And I have a phone. Hi. Thank you. I'll go ahead and show you guys my totally... Oops, I've done it backwards. Totally natural and bare pussy down here between my legs. There she is. Beautiful girl. It's such a stupid joke. Surely there's a framing in which we can capture you and me and not have it be so nope, that's not it. Okay. Hey. I don't have to do rolling around on the floor time with her, except that if I do that, then this shirt, which I'm not wearing anything underneath, and is very like prone to flopping and flipping open and stuff, maybe show something that I'm not supposed to show on Facebook. Although it's legal to be naked in Seattle. I can try to talk louder. The audio, I used to have a whole microphone and everything running through the computer. But now I just have an iPhone 5. So if the audio is cutting out, I mean, really the only thing I can do here on this end with the microphone built into the phone is just try to talk louder. Which is counterintuitive, because I'm sitting in my home and I'm shouting at the camera. Basically, I'm shouting at my phone. Right? Hi, what are you doing? You're so happy. Are you gonna go for my hair? Thank you, by the way. You're thinking about it. There she goes. I don't actually look at myself that much, and I keep forgetting that I look like this. I talked a little bit the other day with, I want to say Noel. Maybe it's Noel. It's probably Noel, huh? Even though the way it's spelled is... Anyway. I talked about body dysmorphia and how I still have it, but it doesn't work the way I think most people think it works for me. The way it works for me is I'm so used to understanding myself as this kind of like invisible nothing person that I forget that I look like this. And it's confusing to me when people respond to the way that I actually look. because unless I look at myself a lot, like a lot in the mirror, which I don't spend a lot of time doing, I forget what I look like. And it's not like I think I look like some kind of guy instead. It's that, because I didn't feel like that before either. It's that will you stop chewing on me? Seriously. It's that now I've totally forgot what I was about to say. Oh, it's that I perceive my appearance as kind of like a null field, right? Like just void, like not applicable, like no entry, right? Is more how I understand it in my own head. So, I've talked about that a lot, about stuff like pretty privilege. It's really weird to be like basically invisible nobody person. How? She just hip checked me. Take the puck. Fuck, I don't want it that bad. It's really surreal. It's really, really, really weird, and it's still weird. I don't know when it will not be weird, but it's still weird now. To go from, like, either not being noticed at all or not having a way to understand at all that I was being noticed, which is probably closer to the truth, to be honest. What are you doing? To go from that to, like, you should come model. You know? To people hitting on me in public. Just walking up to people I've never met before. Not on, like, on a dating site or something. Maybe somebody just walk up to me, like, in the mall or something, you know? And hit on me. Is like... you know? It's confusing. But at the same time, I think that's part of why I'm able to like not buy into it too much, you know? Like I don't spend a lot of time sitting around thinking about like how pretty I am and what I can achieve with my prettiness or something. Instead, I'm more like, I guess, like technically I'm pretty, so I will accept the offer of this job that is predicated on prettiness because you've made the offer, and I'm just gonna assume you know what you're doing. Like, it's more like that, right? But it's just such a weird and gigantic perspective swing to go from like not especially desired or pursued, kind of invisible person to like getting attention that I don't understand, you know? It's that, you know, and honestly, there's enough about my development that was arrested that it's probably not too different from any other girl hitting puberty and being like, why is everybody paying attention to me like this all of a sudden? It's really weird, you know? So who knows? Maybe in like 10 years I'll be totally used to it. It'll be fine. I'll be approaching my late 20s, something like that. If everyone's having trouble hearing me, then this will be a really, really, really short AMA. Like, on top of not getting any questions really yet, if people are like, it looks like she's talking and looks like she's answering something, but I can't hear her. I'll just try to pose. I don't think this will work, but I'm curious to see how it sits. Does that end up being a bad thing at some point? I feel like this is better on something where it's more like sits like this, right? Normally. I don't know. What? Do you need to hit it? You can. Do you need to poke it? Satisfy your curiosity. What do you think? Hi. You gonna go for it? Once more? Do it. You can do it. Hi, buddy. This is super inconvenient for me, sir. I was about to go that way. And he's lying down. Okay. This is a terrible lesson to teach you, I think. Do you want to wear the necklace, you little fruit cup? And try it on Pippin. What do you think, buddy? Too femme? Too femme? Are you good? Is it regal enough? Do you like it? What do you think? Do you need to go? Do you need to go? You can go. Do you want to try it on? You can try it on. I think it would look beautiful on you. No, you're afraid of it. Okay, goodbye. Do you want to try it on again? Do you just want to investigate it? Here you go. Lulu sent me this yesterday. Actually, she sent it to me 2 days ago. I got it yesterday. That's what really happened. You know, look how just regal you look. Seriously. I mean, it's a bit femme. I don't know if you care about that. You probably don't. You're a cat. Never mind. Alright, hop down, buddy. I'm gonna go hang this back up. On the jewelry. Tiffany, if you have any questions for me. Ow! I'm sorry, I said ow, but I elbowed you in the face. He seems fine. Hi, buddy. I was gonna say, if you had any questions for me that you've been like dying to ask, now's the time. I'm afraid that one of the handful of people in the world who like just really hates me will show up here and be like, I got a question for you. Can you hear the birds? Literally as soon as I said that, the airplane came up. Thank you. I appreciate that. I honestly, I don't mind the like the initial, question or whatever. Um, Either I more mind somebody like pressing an issue that I don't have a way to talk about or something like that, you know. These cats I've had their entire lives, which is going on. Let me think. Time is weird for me. Probably like 6 years or so, I think. Because they were all kittens while I was living with Jen, and that was 2012-ish. Yeah, they're probably about 6 years old by now, right? Um, Maybe tail end of that. Whenever we got evicted, they were all little baby cats still. But these cats all lived in that apartment with me and Jen and Everett when we were still a couple. So, um, and we broke up on. Hey, don't chew on that, dude. Come on. We broke up on Mother's Day of. I wonder if it was 2013. It has to have been 2013. Oh, good question. Easy one though for me, Picard. Um, Alexandra likes Kirk, and she talks about how we get Kirk confused with Shatner, because canonically Kirk is like way more, is just way cooler. He's like deeply heroic and not really a womanizer and all this kind of stuff. I like Picard because, and I liked Picard for this before I understood how deep that I needed this, because I didn't really have a dad. I didn't really have like a safe father kind of role model figure that I could get any sort of knowledge from, right? And he's just such a like. Is he in the memes for the non-toxic masculinity? They show Mr. Rogers, they show Captain America. What's the other one? Is it another really modern one? Is it like Thor or something? Or like Black Panther or somebody? Yeah, it is. It's Captain America, Black Panther, and fucking Mr. Rogers. How about Picard? Picard's a fantastic example of this. Like, he's clearly a guy, right? He's very masculine, but he's also his own guy. He has like some affectations that maybe some people might consider more feminine or something. But he's the captain of the flagship of the Federation, right? And he's just like watching him handle all these situations, and in the model of the model of like calling his bridge officers for counsel, right? Saying come talk through this issue with me. Like seeing that model of conversation and hierarchy, but also like respect outside of hierarchy. Next Gen has given me a lot to like, I don't know, sort of develop my own kind of sense of morality or something, right? To like test myself against these stories and like see how I feel about whatever. And one of the things that I really like in Next Gen that I talk about a lot is the relationship between Picard and Worf. Okay. I was in the army. That one I can just slip in there. That one's easy. And it's because there's sequences where Picard is subordinate to Worf, and shows us through through being a really good actor and the script being well conceived and all of that, how to respond as a man who is usually in charge when suddenly you're not in charge anymore. And not only are you not in charge, you are subordinate to someone who used to be subordinate to you. How do you behave? Right? Who are you? And it's such a beautiful demonstration of the kind of stuff that I'm practicing all the time now, which is like, what's really happening right now? Because he starts a little bit. He wants to like, Worf like tells him to shut up basically, while Worf is in command. Right? Worf says the Chadish will be silent. The Chadish is some kind of Klingon legal figure that he works for Worf in this context. And Picard like starts a little bit because his lieutenant has just told him to shut up, basically, right? He just told the captain, you can't do that. But in this like quarter second of acting, right, Patrick Stewart conveys all of this, like who do you think you? Oh wait, who do I think I am? I'm the Chadi. She's right. I've overstepped. That's true. That's, you know, with respect to this role. So how I feel about that other context, that doesn't mean anything right now. And letting that go. And because of that, they're able to have even greater respect going forward in other contexts or no context, because they both understand the deeper sense of like respect and connection they have, right? But being able to do something like go into a room and say, give me your thoughts on this thing, and have wildly different perspectives come at you, very impassioned, and then make a decision and go with it, but not, you know, stick with it no matter what kind of stuff. Like, there's so many great examples and so many great stories in there. And I don't remember if I'm still watching Next Gen or if I've moved on to Deep Space Nine and Voyager by the time I remember the childhood sex abuse stuff. But I mean, I was closing in on it, right? And I was very much like still my whole life, and didn't really understand this until I remember the sex abuse stuff. How deeply I needed a dad, right? Like, so much of my terror of men is informed by, not only did I get sexually abused by the guy, then I got like completely neglected and ignored, right? Like barely interacted with at all. I didn't have a demonstration of like positive masculinity growing up. I had demonstrations of sexual abuse, and then being kind of invisible, right? And since I had been told to not be what I was kind of forced into the invisible part, and without understanding where it even came from until I remembered, deeply afraid once I'd, you know, hit puberty and stuff, that I was gonna actually be some kind of sex monster. You know, I was buying into all of the like boys will be boys, and like, you know, barely holding yourself back if you know you're one of these away from just raping the whole school, because, you know, boys can't keep that testosterone in check. It's not true, right? But I've been taught this in the worst way. And, you know, like I've said that I remember the lesson, the unforgettable lesson, but I forgot the class. The class was too traumatic. So, the answer is Picard. Hi. And I will say, if you ask about Janeway or who else even? Cisco, Archer, all these other series I haven't seen completely. So, Pig Thingy. This one doesn't have a name, actually. But this one is probably most emblematic of my fascination with here, I'm gonna grab this smaller tripod instead. With representations of pigs. Let's do this instead. I'll turn this around. Because this has absolutely no function that I can tell. It's not that heavy, right? Not a very useful paperweight. It's kind of fragile, probably. It's not a piggy bank. It's a pig, sort of, with a little handle, sort of. And that's it. I have no idea. And I love it. I absolutely fucking love it. Isn't it incredible? I have no, look, a little chip guy here, right? Like, it's not, you know, not the sturdiest thing. It's not even the best quality workmanship. The fucking, look there, the glazing and stuff. Yeah, it's just decorative little, I mean, you know, I don't want too many of these, right? And my place would be just fucking overflowing with them, but I have a fascination with representations of pigs. I also like owls and cats, but I like owls and cats more in real life than I do pigs. I don't particularly care for or about pigs in real life. I mean, I don't want them to suffer or anything. Jen, way back when we were a couple, wrote on this, and I hated it after we broke up. I was so mad at her, right? I was all butthurt. And oh god, I wanted to get rid of this thing, but I couldn't bring myself to do it, and I'm so glad that I saved it because now I understand what this means, you know? And it's true. And I'm glad that she did this for me. Honestly, I wish I'd made something like this for Jared. I wish I'd thought about that. Something like this he could still hang on to, even if he's upset with me or upset with how things went, that he could know that this is true. You know? But this one also, right? It's made to look like a piggy bank, but I love it. Don't I have more? I used to have a lot more. A lot of them are, I don't know where they are anymore. Yeah. So, yeah. Hi. Oh, you're gonna go for the cord, aren't you? Please don't. I'm sorry, that was my hand on it. Please, Linta, don't chew it, okay? Please don't chew it. No, I know it's fascinating. The whole world is exciting. You're a cat. Great, thank you. What? Please just leave it alone. Favorite movie? I don't know. I feel like I used to have an easy answer for this for a while, and now I can't think of it. Oh, yeah, that's why. Because I was just talking about it, and I don't think of it as my favorite movie. Probably Watchmen, because the story has so many. I don't have. There's no short answer for this. Dr. Manhattan's story is something that I identify with really deeply and easily. Maneki Neko, the big sex abuse post, is written with that sort of the same sort of structure, right? The hopping around in time, like it is this date, it is this date, it is this date, it is this date, just back and forth all over and telling a completely different story because you've reordered these events, right? The sense of being like trapped in something and destroyed by it and becoming something much greater in moments that are inevitable and having to accept them. One I talk about a lot is where Blake, the comedian, shoots this pregnant woman that is carrying his child, right? Their child. They're in Vietnam and he doesn't want to deal with this Vietnamese woman. So he just shoots her, kills her. And as he pulls the gun out and is in the middle of this gesture, right? It's pretty plain what he's about to do. Dr. Manhattan, who can basically control matter, just do whatever, says, Blake, no, stop, wait, right? That's it. He doesn't actually do anything. He's just like, what are you doing? And Blake kills the woman. And because Dr. Manhattan understands, because he's already seen all of this, because he experiences time simultaneously, he just knows how the moment has to play out. He knows that it's necessary. And he turns to Blake and says, you shot her. But he doesn't have any real feeling behind it because he's already felt it all. You know? He's reliving this moment, essentially. And Blake blows up on him and is like, yeah, I did, and you could have turned, the gun into cotton candy and the bullets into butterflies or whatever, but you didn't do anything because you don't give a damn about any of us. Right? Blake is projecting pretty hard on Dr. Manhattan and storms off. But that informs every later moment when Dr. Manhattan is facing some situation and does act. And without that moment, as horrible as it is, the rest doesn't even exist. It's part of one gigantic block of happening. And so I understand my life more this way too, now. And it's not just Dr. Manhattan. There's angles from each character that have like something that I connect with or that I relate to because I know someone like or whatever, this kind of stuff. But I also love it structurally with its kind of lack of a villain. Like there's kind of a villain, but it's just sort of like it is one of the most Marvel DC stories in that it is just a what is it, like 6 or 8 like very strong characters, like strongly defined super objectives, strongly defined objectives, and tactics and all of that, like very very very, like the edges of these characters are known, and then just running them into each other, running them afoul of each other, and seeing what happens, because they're all kind of heroic in some way. They're all trying to do something great and good. But like, what does that mean for each of them? You know. So yeah, Watchmen, but it's not really a movie to me. It's more. I've talked about it recently because I was talking about my church, and I talked about holy media. So like the holy media of your average Christian sect, I suppose, because there's a lot of different ones, is the Bible, some version of the Bible, right? But for me, holy media is anything that really, in a kind of shorthand way, is a kind of art, right, that expresses the deeper truths of your fundamental understandings of reality. And for me, Watchmen, both the book and the movie in different ways, are holy media. Not like everyone else needs to respect and revere them, but in the way of meaning that they have all these little like parables that deeply shorthand and deeply illustrate these truths to me. You know, just things being what they are and accepting them. One of the my song Always Will Be is full of Dr. Manhattan and Watchmen references. The title is a section from the middle of this longer line, where he says, "Is too late, always has been, always will be, too late," which is about, things that don't go the way that you want to, also just being how it always happens, because the entire reality has already occurred. We just experience it. We're just playing it through differently. That's why he says things like, people talk about, like, they don't understand his perception. They think that since he can see all of time around, his local area at each moment simultaneously, that he can also make changes to things. But he can't. He can just see it. And he says something like, "We're all puppets. I'm just a puppet who can see the strings," or something like that, right? Which is why, like later on, I think it's easier to understand why he permits Blake to shoot the pregnant woman, because he never stops her in that moment, which is sort of like circular, but I don't know how else to put it. That's why he knows the next line is, "You shot her." But he also doesn't really have any feeling, because it's a simultaneous moment. He has already experienced it infinite times. It's sad, but he can never change it. He can only accept it and observe how it informs his later choices. So I do the same thing. It's why I identify so easily with the character, Even the way they treat the character. There's a line in Anchors where I talk about this. He says something like they have made me into something gaudy, a weapon, In Anchors I say, "So go on, make of me a weapon, a gaudy thing that we cannot trust." So that's why. I need to get a copy of the book again. I gave mine away in a sort of impassioned gushing about how much I loved it, without really getting that it probably wouldn't impact my friend that much. I don't think she even read it, but I never heard anything back from her about it. So I asked her to just pass it on after she was done with it. So I never heard anything about that either. But I'd like to get another copy. Hey Google, what time is it?
12:40.
I feel like, unless this is like really like rolling, I'll probably just close this up at like 1. It'll be just a nice even hour. But I'm also planning on running this weekly, so I don't want people to feel like, oh, like I couldn't think of a question, or like at 1:03 I thought of the best question. Like, bring it back next week, it's fine. Or ask me on the next live stream, because I don't care. It's not that serious. The whole point of the page and everything has always been to just open a window into my actual world and let people see. Like, that's my actual overly full laundry hamper. That's Jared's laundry hamper that is not overly full, but still has stuff in it that I'd like to wash for him just to get it clean, but haven't yet. That's a fan that I found in the free cycle area down by the mailboxes. That's Pippin. That's a heat pad. I use that a lot for my back. You know, just my actual home or wherever I am. And, you know, my photo, my outfit, whatever I'm wearing, it's often pajamas anymore. I don't go out that much. I'm mostly here doing like self-care stuff. This morning I did a live stream for a while of my doing the ball massage, trigger point stuff on my back, and then icing my back, laying over here and icing my back, and had the heat pad on my lower back so that I wouldn't get too cold. You know, I would live stream myself doing the guided meditations too, except I think that gets me in copyright issues. Live streaming was just a natural outgrowth of what I was already doing. Facebook made the feature available after I'd had the page running for like a year or so. It was right around the time that Kim and I broke up, actually, that live streaming became available from Facebook, and I just started doing it because it was the most obvious next thing, right? The entire intention of the page from the start was, here's my actual life as much as I can show you. And even back then, before it was like a Facebook thing, I still was thinking the same thing that I was talking about last night even, I think, that if I had a way to do it, if I had the resources, I would totally have just cameras that people could watch and choose which one they wanted to look at 24/7, just running in here all the time. You know, and there's like all these safety concerns, right? I'd have to like, you know, hide my address or like make sure that like conversations about my, you know, with my social security number or stuff like that are like, you know, it's like production decisions, right? How to like mask that stuff and keep me safe. Or like have a delay and have people whose job is to keep that stuff masked or something. But like to just show it, right? There's all of this like cis horror fantasy theory crafting about what someone like me is like at home. It's like this. Like, here I am. This is actually where I live. You know, I can't show myself going to the bathroom, but if I had live stream cameras all over it and one of the things that you could see was me in the bathroom and this is like my own site and this is the thing that people get, like, sure, see me in the bathroom. Watch how often I'm doing like weird sex stuff in the bathroom. Watch how often I'm doing not weird sex stuff. I don't know what you consider weird, right? But the point is, I don't do that. And it's not because I have some sort of like inhibition, like, you know, I don't want to offend Jesus or something. I don't care. It's not that. I'm not even interested. Right? But instead of telling people this after they have already cast me as some kind of sex monster, you know, like no one wants to believe the sex monster saying, but I am not a sex monster. Do you know what I mean? So the best I can do is show people everything. As much as I can. It doesn't matter if it's good, if it's bad, if I'm crying, if I'm laughing, who cares? It's what's happening. That's the point. Even the season and episode format, like thinking of my life this way, has really, really, really helped me with a lot of things. And one of those things is that sort of time is simultaneous, all of this has already happened, I'm just re-experiencing it now kind of thing. What happens in this episode is always what happens in this episode. Season 44 of my life, my journey from 43 to 44, and episode 39, which is today, from 12 to 1-ish, probably, Pacific, I was doing exactly this. You could go to that point of that episode, of that season, and watch it. And if I had multiple cameras all over the place and I was indexing that way, you could watch any way you like. You could see what Linta was doing at that point in my life, if that was what you were interested in. Right? It's just to show it. It's to realize that I can't have, like, my life is already turned into this anyway. My life is already turned into a zoo exhibit by all of these other people who insist that I'm something that I'm not. So this is me deciding to be the zookeeper and say, here's the exhibit. I'm caring for this creature. I know her. You can ask me anything about her, right? And I'll give you my best answer. So, thank you for all these questions, by the way. Hopefully this will encourage future participants. Maybe people can watch this and get a sense of what it's like, you know. It's weird to me that people like the people that message me and say, like, I've been a huge fan of yours for a few years now or something, a couple of years. I'm like, this ties into the dysmorphia stuff that I talked about earlier too, actually. This, like, sort of, like, misunderstanding of what I am in myself. Not in some sort of, like, I'm not built myself up into something, like, greater. It's more that I keep forgetting that I'm not so small, you know? Funny. It is really hard to finish a thought when you do that, man. What are you doing? Anyway, I don't remember what I was saying. Oh. That it's weird to me that people might, like, perceive me as, like, I have people tell me that, like, I can be intimidating or something. I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, I live in a state of terror so deep and persistent that after all of that, like, meditation and yoga and weed and being at my therapist's office and everything to take the little anxiety inventory, I still buried the needle on that thing. How can I be intimidating? It's confusing to me. But, you know. I also then have the weird sense of occasionally seeing myself, like, in the mirror or something and being like, wow, like, I'm really cute or something. And having a sense of how I might have perceived myself before, you know, capital B before. If I could go anywhere, honestly, it would probably be somewhere in Europe. I would do some research, I can't remember where, on, like, where is the happiest and most trans-friendly place. And then I would go there to live forever. And take care of myself. And maybe come back to the US to try to, like, help. But I would just rest. Would I? No, look, I already feel guilty just imagining it. I wouldn't do that. It's terrible. Where would I go? I don't know. Here, I guess. Hey, look at that. I wish it came true. I don't know. That seems sort of like a flip answer, but that's kind of true in a way. Like, so much of the practice is being where I am constantly. And, like, doing things like being more and more okay with the fact that I don't have a computer anymore right now. You know? Like, slowing my pace down even more. Like, look at Linta's just here. Like, look at Linta. Right? Yeah, see? You get it. Where's Linta right now? Where's she going? What's she looking at? What is she thinking about? Is she even awake? I don't know. But I can join her, you know? There's so much to see everywhere. You know, the idea that I have to go someplace else completely to see something different is, like, that's a practice too, you know? I will say that I would like to travel. I hate flying, and it makes sense now with the autism stuff. I was always very like motion sick before. Now I'm much more so. I've just gotten more sensitive as time has gone on. But road tripping would be awesome, which is why I think weirdly, especially if they have some success with this federal lifting of cannabis prohibition stuff, that if my music was picking up around the same time and I could tour in the relative safety of a big entourage with me of some kind, you know, a number of other people, so I'm not like by myself, you know, in Alabama or some shit, that I'd be able to do that. I'd have access to meds everywhere easily, you know, and would be able to travel over land, which is how I'd like to do it, you know. Did you just take a dump? You did. Oh my god. Alright, well I closed this because it was getting loud, but hashtag my trans reality. Jesus, God, that smells terrible. Look, he's so happy too. Good job, dude. You taught me. Respect. Please, just whatever you want. Oh god, there's a little bit hanging there. That's so awful, Pippin. Now I've got to get it off your ass. Why are you doing this? Don't sit down, buddy. Don't sit down. Stay upright. Standing there. Good feline citizen. Stand still. Stand still. This is so awful. Please don't do that. Please don't. That's so bad, dude. It's so gross. Did I get the whole thing? I did. Please excuse me. Did you even bury your shit, dude? How you bury it, it still smells like that. You eat the same thing all the time. How do you get it to smell different? How can it smell worse? Am I just more sensitive? Is this my fault? Me? My God. I gotta open some other windows. Air moving through. Like, are you mad at me about something? I make you toys like every 3 days. Okay. Hey Google, what time is it?
It's 12:53.
We're trying to make a serious point. This dumbass coming down the stairs. Prank. Do you ever watch Misfits? It's on Hulu. It's a really funny show. It's a superhero kind of thing. It's an English TV series. It has 4 seasons, but each season is only 6 episodes long. It might have 5 seasons now. He reminds me of a character. Yeah, so Nathan. He's Nathan. He does something, and I just look at him and go, prick. And he's like, what? I'm an enormous douchebag. We know. That was one of the many shows I tried to share with Jared. We got through like 4 episodes or something. I was hoping to get him all the way through season 2 and the really cool arc with Simon. What I wanted him to see was the Christmas special. I wanted him to see the end of the Christmas special because it's so stupid. It's so over the top stupid and funny, and I still just like I don't remember when I saw it last, but when I did, I fucking lost it laughing. It's still entertaining, but it's clear that was the arc, and then they were like, do you want to just keep writing in this universe? And they were like, oh, sure. Because it still has the same kind of general vibe. It's still funny, and it's still exploring kind of like, what if you had a superpower that was kind of bullshit, you know, in the comic book superpower sense, like amazing ability, right? But only relative to people who have no kind of super ability at all, right? It's funny. You could watch worse things, in 45-minute blocks. I did have the last girl that I dated before, whose name was Rachel, also incidentally. But this is not the Rachel that I was married to. I had her watch the whole thing with me because there was literally like one scene somewhere towards the end of season 4 that I was like, I watched the first season of Sense8 and I watched it with Kim, and now I can never watch the rest of it. Not never, but I don't know that I will. Yeah, yeah. Who knows? I loved it. I raved about it. I told people that it was the best television I've ever seen. Star Trek Discovery is now the best television I've ever seen. That show is absolutely amazing. Just it's so well done. It is so everything that I would want to do in a TV show that I would make. It's got season long arcs. It's setting stuff up that looks like it'll be multi-season arcs. Like it's got a lot of basket weaving. Um, it explores a lot of things that I think need to be explored in media, like men who have uh, PTSD, for example. A masculine model for experiencing PTSD. Yeah, it'll be the kind of thing I think when I find like a real connection with somebody, um, that I would like to share that sort of thing with, that I would just rewrite that sort of sense of sitting with someone and watching it. But um, yeah, I've been doing a lot of reclaiming stuff. Like I was reclaiming, like the clothes and stuff. I don't like wearing a lot of these dresses that I have because she bought them for me. And the ones that I like the least are the ones that I actually like the most because I like them. And I hate that she likes the ones that I like too sometimes. The ones that are easier for me to wear are the ones that she bought that I didn't even really care about because I don't care about them now. And it's more like, yeah, sure, whatever, nice dress, I guess, fuck you, I don't give a shit, right? $200, $300 dress, sure, let's go. Where are we going, Jack in the Box? I don't care. You know what I mean? But it's sad. They're so beautiful too, some of these dresses. But anyway, I've been reclaiming stuff like that. I feel like it's, perhaps some point I reclaim Sense8. Maybe I will watch all of Babylon 5 on my own. That was her show that she was trying to share with me. She got mad at me once because she shared an episode of that with me that was really special to her. But she didn't tell me it was really special to her. She just said, I love this episode. And at the end of it, when I didn't have the emotional meltdown response that she wanted me to have, she got so mad at me. Because I cracked some sort of little joke about something. They were talking about some kind of food or something, and I was like, God, I'm hungry, and I'd really love to have what the food they were talking about. Right? That's where I was at with it. This is not that good a show. The acting is not that good in Babylon 5. She even spent all this time making fun of the acting. But that's an example of what I mean when I would say that she would punish me for not having the right feelings at the right time. She would also punish me for having the wrong feelings at the wrong time. Like crying in public. You're embarrassing me. Okay. Well, she helped me understand that the answer to that in the future is bye. Yeah. Yeah, no, I understand now looking back, and especially with these articles that I'm able to find to read and compare the behavior track, that it fits better. That it's not love, it's trauma bonding. It's that cycle of love bomb, abuse, love bomb, abuse, love bomb, abuse, right? And it sucks because it feels like my experience of it inside feels like that I love her, right? That I care about her and that I want her to be happy and all this stuff, right? But I understand that there's a little chunk of that that's me that actually is the person who met her and was like, oh, she's adorable, right? And the rest is her demanding that I feel that way about her until I can't not. That's why she needs to stay away from me. My Peter Pan happy thought, I don't really know what that means. My knowledge of Peter Pan is limited to recollections of brief clips of the Disney movie, and some commentary at some point about the actual fairy tale and something I don't remember. Do you mean like what's my happiest thought? Do you mean like I don't know what you're asking me. Happiest memory, or a happiest idea of like how things might be someday that I would really like or something? I need a hat. Oh, okay. I see. Um, I don't have one. I don't have one. Because I've been talking lately about this like sense of blossoming, of feeling like I have sort of community and time and space and um, being known and these sorts of things enough that it's like I'm growing a little bit in a very natural way every couple of days, or even every day. Really, it's stuff like watching the rhythm of my own growth. You know, things like getting involved more with theater stuff, getting all these relationships built around my just saying yes to what I'm actually doing already, right? Music stuff, or reliving moments constantly, which is also what acting is as a job. Like, it's, trauma response. I've been doing it my whole life. Of course it's easy for me to do. It's just, it's a constructed moment that I relive, right? And because I've been practicing all of this, what's really happening right now, and building awareness stuff, it's not that I just sit there and for a second have a flash of feeling happy while I'm sitting next to, this playwright and all of these new people, the actors in the play, and people that like come into town from out of the country to visit and also see their friends in this play and kind of stuff. It's not just like this fleeting thing that I kind of maybe forget about or don't really experience that deeply. I keep hitting how deeply grateful I am. It's just countless times through that evening. Stuff like Amanda, the mixologist bartender. My being like I want a drink that combines with this food that you suggested I try. Like your like your go-to meal when you're here and you want to eat it. Like just getting to know people, being in my city and being part of my community, right? And like I still have this like terror of running into Kim somewhere in the city because she's my Kilgrave, right? I don't want to hear her speak to me. That's the beginning of awful things. But it's not stopping me from going out into the city as much anymore. It's not stopping me from saying yes to all these invitations to go record with this guy who saw me one time at an open mic. and said, normally I charge people, but I'd love to record you. I can't pick. I don't have like, when I was 12, this thing happened and I was on a horse and it was the happiest day of my life, and ever since then it's been shit. It's not that, It's living, it's being here and being awake enough to what's happening and what I'm choosing and all of that, to even go through a day like the other day and be like, I'm waiting to get bored. I am doing a version of counting to 10 after unplugging my modem to power cycle it, because I'm overstimulated. I've been out a couple nights in a row and it's been wonderful, but I need to rest. And that's why I'm doing nothing all day, right? This kind of stuff, just like observing myself enough to understand. And I'm not even like, I don't look at a day like that and think like, I wasted the day. I was such a piece of shit. I just laid around. Like, no, I was resting. I needed to. I took really good care of myself. And I was happy about it. It's building stuff like that. So I don't have one. I have a sort of ever-expanding library of them, and that's probably part of that sensation of blossoming, These conversations, like the conversation with Lulu the other day, about her role in my life, of getting me to understand how attraction really works, right? And how to really love someone and know that you're loving them, because when they are full of joy for something, for themselves, that you're full of joy because they're full of joy, that you're happy to see them happy, right? She was one of the people that helped me get myself to a place where I recognize really obvious stuff, like if I feel like I'm attracted to someone, and part of my understanding of that is that I love them, right? I really like them a lot. I want to know them better. I want to take care of them, etc. And the first thing I do is make my attraction to them that they don't share with me into a problem for them. That's not loving. That's something else. And so the kindest choice is to keep that away from them. It doesn't have to mean keep me away. It just means don't make this their problem. Look at instead, are there other ways in which I am drawn to them? This is what I mean about understanding attraction. So we have other ways that we connect that are not maybe this one that I had like a sort of fascination with for a while. I talked about it being like keys on a keyboard, right? It's like this is the problem with men today. They've been taught that they can only interact with girls as family in the no-sex land for most families, or sex. That's it. And if you think of it like a keyboard, which is totally arbitrary, of course, but that's 2 keys. There are 86 other keys, right? There's food and music and fashion and animal care and hiking and technology, and there's all of these interests, right? So me and Lulu have these connections that are easy and natural, that make sense around like fashion and dressing up, or like expressing femininity through these kinds of things, clothing and makeup or whatever, right? We both do modeling. She also does fashion design. And that's it. And part of what happened around that, this is what we talked about the other day. This is why it was so wonderful. And this is like the happy moment for me, an example of another happy moment for me. We were chatting about this kind of stuff and like being in this place in our lives where we both feel like we're blossoming. We both feel like we're just sort of like on the path, like being present, making choices, and being open to more, and just watching things open up before us. It's really surreal. And I was like, do you want to know something awkward and also completely true? She's like, absolutely, every time. I was like, okay, here we go. And I said, I had an enormous crush on you. And I want to thank you because you helped me understand like really a much kinder way of dealing with that kind of feeling. And it ended up leading to my next person that I felt crushy towards, which was either the first guy or one of the very first guys that I think he was the first guy that I knew in person that I felt like this towards. I called him Squirrel Boy, not because he looks like or behaves like a squirrel at all, but because the model that I was using for how to relate to him or understand my feeling of like he seems like a really wonderful guy was to be like, how do I make that not his problem? And the first model that came to mind was like how I used to interact with the squirrels in my yard when I was a kid, right? I would get to know them. I would get to know what they liked, which was nuts. And then I would figure out how to like help them with that, you know, but not how to like, you know, cage them, or I wasn't trying to make them into anything. I wanted to understand what they were so I could help them be better what they were, so that I could watch them do that and be like, yay. That was the whole thing. So it just got me to this place where I was able to, it was a thing that I already started doing a little bit even before, capital B before, right towards the very end, started getting better about this kind of stuff. But this was more like formalizing the thinking behind it and understanding that I can, like the model for me is the same for everyone and everything and how I relate to them, the underlying model, which is to be present enough to try to understand them well enough just in that moment. I don't tax myself with trying to know people that well outside of it because I can't do it and they hate it, but that's too bad. To be able to decide as harmlessly as possible. So, you know, it's the leave the place better than when you found it. Like, you know, if you see trash in the park, pick it up kind of stuff. Is the same kind of love that I show to the spider that I find in here. Because it's thinking about things like, well, probable outcomes for you in here. This is a pretty high risk place for you to be, right? You're going to get stepped on, you're going to get, you know, chased after by the cats and have like 6 hours of dying. It's going to be miserable. You're going to come down on top of the nail. I talked about this the other night. What can I do? Probably I could catch and release you. I think I could pull that off. So I try to do that. And because the approach the whole time is about care for them. And I'm like, spiders, I hate spiders. You know, or something. I set them out. I set them free. And I you know, I'm like, bye, be safe. Well, they just haul ass down the hallway, you know? And it's the same way that I approached my whole relationship with Jared, which is why when things aren't working and I ask him to leave and all that, it's sad because, yeah, there's a little bit of me that's like, it would have been nice if, but because my practice all the way through was to recognize those feelings as it would be nice if, and you know, stuff like when I'd go to sleep by myself and feel sad and lonely and cry about it, and I'd be going up the stairs and he'd be like, you know, are you okay? And I'd be like, well, no, like I'm sad and I'm lonely and I don't like going to sleep by myself and stuff like that. But I would remind him, I'm not your girlfriend. You're not my boyfriend. What I want for you to do is be where you are and know what is and discard what is not and do what is kindest. If what you need right now is to be by yourself in the bathroom, up all night, whatever, do that. Because I don't want you to make yourself come hold me. I don't want to be held by that guy who's not there. It's a waste of everybody's time. Just be you. Be the most complete you that you can be. And I will decide how close I can be to that guy. And that went on for like a year. And so I don't feel like I should have done something more or different, or I could have done something better or whatever. I was building my own awareness. And I was communicating with him all the things that were true, which were that I was sad and lonely, that I don't sleep well by myself, especially when someone is that I feel close to is like awake and around, and that's just an every night thing. But also, that it's not his job, that I don't want him to make himself do it. You know, even if it's not something that he wants to admit or acknowledge, as soon as he's not living here anymore, he starts turning his shit around really fast. And I do too. I started doing a lot better as soon as he was gone. It doesn't mean that, and this is why I'm so clear about it too. And like, I understand it. It's sad. But this is why I so value Watchmen and things like the moment with Blake and the pregnant lady. Right? This is a form of that. It's an inevitably sad moment that always plays out just like that. But I understand it. It is two people who are so wanting to care for the other, but not knowing how to or what to do, that they forget to handle their own shit. They have not finished learning how to be a complete person. So we need to be further apart to finish doing that. And that's fine. And because like there was definitely a sense of him trying to like make me into something over and over. He would say things like, I want to wake up to this face for the rest of my life, and like, now I know you're not into this kind of stuff, and like I could kind of take it or leave it, but if you wanted to get married, I would totally marry you. Like he would say stuff like that, right? But because I was aware of that and constantly and consistently and gently refused to acknowledge what it was, that he really likes me right this second, so much that he wants to like reserve me for the rest of his life. But that's not how it works. I was doing that all the way through. So when it ends, when I understand that I can't have him near me because it's hurting too much, I'm sad about it. Like, you've watched it play out. I'm tired. I want to be able to help him. I don't know what to do, but I know that the best thing I can do is some form of not being that close to him. And I understand it. I don't even remember what I'm talking about anymore. I'm pretty baked. Are we still doing the happy thought thing? Weed is so helpful, you guys. Hey Google, what time is it? Dog.
It's 1:17.
Wow. Thank you for your questions. I feel like what I'll do is just like sit for, I don't know, 2 minutes. And if there's a 2-minute period in which I get no further questions, I'll spend 20 minutes wrapping it up. And then that'll be the end. And I gotta watch the time. 17. Oh wow. It's 1:17, and that's because I started at noon. That's not a wow. I'm a dumbass. Never mind. Like, look at that. It's exactly an hour and 17 minutes, my broadcast that I started at noon. It's getting a little cold. I'm like I haven't even shaved today, and I'm super washed out over here with this daylight coming in, even though it's all gray light coming in. To bring you back here, you can see how stubbly I actually am. Maybe. There, see, kind of. Same face. It's like the girl who did the selfie, like same picture from 2 different angles. Or the other one where it was not quite the same picture, but she was like laying on her back in one and on her side, or her stomach in the other. And she's super curvy, right? So everybody's like, yeah, for the big butt picture. And she turns over on her back, and only the girls are like, oh, you're adorable with her belly, right? All the guys are like, oh, you need to lose weight, or whatever. Like, no, dude. You need to stop playing video games, is what we. You know what I mean? Like, and I say this as someone who hid quite well in video games for decades. Just go outside, man, meet people. Like, but they can't. An MMO is an easy sell because it lets you be the hero. And there's a whole country, at least, but world, really, in a way. World full of guys who have been brought up to believe that they are centrally important heroes in their own story, and that's kind of true, but not the way they've been taught. Right? They've been taught that they'll each have world-shaking importance, and that's what an MMO gives you. Your character is always central to the plot of the whole world. It's a I don't know, magic feather, and lets you believe that what you've been taught is real. Somewhere. I used it to let myself be real somewhere, because I couldn't be real here. So I just cluelessly ran around playing girls for, 15 years of MMOs or whatever, however long they've been around. Alright, have we hit the 2-minute mark? We've hit the 3-minute mark of no questions. So, thanks for hanging out for the first reboot Ask Sarah AMA. I used to do this with YouTube videos, and it was like a weekly thing where I would take questions throughout the week, like in text or whatever, through all these channels, and then answer them all at once. But I think I only had like 300 or 400 people audience back then. It didn't really get any kind of response, and I just didn't feel like trying to invent questions, you know. So, but I've enjoyed this, and I'll try it a few more times, um, and see. And if there's increasing response or interest, keep running it, and if not, then not. But again, even if I don't keep doing this like as a scheduled weekly explicit, like you can ask me anything thing, generally you can ask me anything, and the worst you'll get is I'm too tired to go into that right now, or that's outside of what I can talk about, right? That's like somebody else's life, and I try to not speculate on that. I can talk about specific things that happened, but handful of lives that I don't want to talk about at all. But for the most part, you can ask me whatever, and I'm happy to do my best to answer and let you know what my actual life is like, because that's the point of all of this, is to let people, like, I understand and I accept that people have whatever idea they have in their head of trans woman or autistic woman or stoner even, right? Anything that I am, musician, you know. And so it's not that I show them my life to be like, this is reality and everything else that you're thinking is like, you have to throw it. I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm just saying, here's my actual life. It's kind of inarguably, this is happening right now, right? Like, why would you argue about whether Linta is on my lap right now? It's just true, right? So in the same way, how can you argue that I'm making a practice of, harassing your daughter or whatever, when I've actually just spent the last hour and a half or so hanging out and, talking about Star Trek, like, this is what's actually happening. I get that you say this and this and this is what I'm doing, but okay, when, where, show me. There are literally years of video of me at this point, all over the place. So where is it? I'm showing you everything. Show me. That's the point. So you are invited to ask me anything, even if this whole series doesn't like take off or last or whatever, this format. But I would like to try for a while, at least a month or so, to explicitly be like, every week, if you got a question, come on in and ask. And get people to understand that I'll also accept things like I used to before for the original format, which is like, if you can't be there to watch or participate, but you want to write in a question and say, would you mind answering this on your next Ask Sarah? Sure, I'll do my best. And that's it. And I'll even link it back to you, at least for a while, unless the page really takes off for some reason and I get way more followers than I can manage to do that with or for. But thank you for hanging out with me. I am going to mostly rest again today. I think I'm going to try to let my fingers take it easy because they were blistering the other day, and I have to record. Well, I don't have to, but I'm booked to record again tomorrow. I'm probably going to do Watchmaker. That's my intention, unless I get there and Joseph is like, I really want to do something. I'll do that instead. But we'll see. And if my throat's doing exceptionally well, perhaps we'll redo vocals on I Call My Dad, or maybe they sound fine now. I don't know. Maybe he's worked on a mix. Maybe I show up and we listen to a mix first. I have no idea. But just more rest and care. And it's cold and gray out, and I was talking about baking that pie. It's way too much pie for me, and I'm probably gonna end up throwing like half of it away. Before I can eat the whole thing. But I was just at the grocery store. I should have got some ice cream, but I didn't. But yeah, I'm gonna. It's another off cycle day, right? I had this heightened activity, and now it's a few days of. So, if I do some active stuff here later in the day, it's gonna be. I have a couple of guided meditations I could do. It might be yoga. I've already done the ball massage and one Epsom salt bath. I might have another one later. But yeah, just a slow, lazy self-care day. I'll probably watch. Ow! I'll probably watch some more Star Trek or something. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and for asking the questions. Thank you, Camilla, for spending time here to just kind of make sure in case there was some sort of incel uprising here on my page or something. So much of what is the death of trans women in the world is being ignored or miscast, or some combination of the two. And everyone here is helping to fight that by just devoting some amount of their time to really seeing actual me right now, right here. So I'm really grateful to you for that. And I'll schedule the next week's thing. It's going to just be Sundays at noon Pacific. And I hope to see more of you again then and there. You're welcome, like anything else on the page, to share this video. If you want to invite people to perhaps send in their own questions or to come participate next week. And hopefully this will kind of grow a little bit. That would be nice to really be able to just, have it not be so much just like a broadcast that people can find and kind of interact with if they like, but to really like invite people more, to be like, I'm here, right? It doesn't have to be, I'm just, having dabs and then rambling about who knows what. It can be, I'm having dabs and then you ask me, Kirk or Picard. Good? Okay. That's all. Thank you. Goodbye. Be safe.